All right. Welcome back to another episode of Bold Movers and Shakers, interviews that rock the boat. I don't know. I had to throw it in there, guys. It's a stupid title, but whatever. I have an amazing interview with me today. Interviewee, the one and only Madeleine Black. Hello, Madeleine. How you doing?
Hi there. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great, actually. If I were any better, I'd be better. I don't know. I don't know. I'd be like, I am so excited to speak with you, and in particular about what you're up to. Let's just give the audience a bit of a clue as to why I'm so freaking excited about you and what you're doing. Madeleine has had a book out called Unbroken, and it is based in a terrible event that happened in her life. Madeleine, can you just sort of sum that up, and then we're going to go into what's going on now?
Cut a very long story short, my book Unbroken is about my experience of being gang raped when I was just 13 years old by two American teenagers. And it follows my journey of survival, healing, forgiveness, transformation, and hope.
Wow. That and what I love about you, there's such an inspiration, is that right on the top of your website, guys, go to madelineblack.co.uk. You're going to see a wealth of information about this amazing soul sitting in front of me. And one of those things is that you said, I never imagined at this age that I would be interviewed, I would be speaking, I would be doing what I'm doing. Wow, like that's a big leap, especially for...
I don't think it's even the age. I just never imagined I could speak out because I was so ashamed for years.
That's just nuts how we turn it in on ourselves.
Absolutely.
as if we've done something wrong. Your story has been told, and it is it's a tearjerker, and your recovery is amazing, and that you say that forgiveness doesn't excuse their behavior, but bloody hell, I had it. I love this, and I put it right on the front of the notice today on Facebook, because it's so good.
Well, forgiveness really for me was nothing to do with them. You know, I didn't need them to tell me that they were sorry. It was, for me, it was an act of self-love, self-empowering, and it cut any chains that really stopped my growth and tied me to the past. It was for giving me a better chance.
Beautiful. And I found it, sweetie. I'm so sorry to mumble and stumble through this. Normally I'm a whiz at this, but I've just been so blown away by you this morning. Forgiveness doesn't excuse their behavior. Forgiveness prevents their behavior from destroying your heart.
Yeah.
Wow. Like that sums it up so well. And bravo, it's an amazing story. And I know it's a hard book to read, but it would be essential to give people a voice. And that's what you're doing. Yes, by being willing to stand up there on stage and or wherever it is that you're going. Did you ever imagine that your journey was going to be like this?
No chance. No, I could never have imagined. And, you know, I would never, ever wish what happened to me on anybody else. But now I would never undo it because...
Wow.
It's, you know, it's a paradox. It's kind of shaped my life, but then it's not who I am as well. You know, obviously has been a shadow over my life for a long time, but it's not who I am. I'm more than my body. I'm more than my name, my mind. I'm more than what happened to me.
You know, I was thinking about that, hon. Is it when something happens, we take on an identity. I'm an angry person. An identity that, you know, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes our identity.
Mm-hmm.
And that you've been able to go through that. You have to go through it to get over it.
Absolutely. The way in is the way out.
Oh, deep. I like it. Like talking to you. The way in is the way out. That's brilliant. And that the difficult part is getting stuck in it. Yeah. And having, you know, traipsed through some of those identity crises when you're like, I don't know who I'll be if I'm not an angry or ashamed or guilty or whatever person. I don't know who I'll be next. And it takes a bold move. It really does, to let go of that.
It's bold, and it's not, because after a while the pain of holding on was more painful than letting it go. What the side effects, what I paid for, the price was just, I was bitter, angry, resentful, sarcastic. I was horrible, and I could see that what it was doing, so actually I was so tightly wound all the time, it was going to be easier to let it go. Eventually I got to that place, and I thought, it has no impact on them if I'm hanging on to all this anger and rage and revenge. It's only hurting me and my kids. I have to find a way to let it go. It's not happening anymore. It's done. They're just pictures in my head.
How in the world did you transition to that? I mean, I know that we have to actually hit that point where it's like, enough already.
Yeah.
I don't know what the next thing is, but this sucks.
Yeah.
And I've got to let this go.
Well, I didn't get here overnight. It has been a lot of work, a lot of talking therapies, a lot of body therapies, maybe alternative therapies, but always there was just this motivation inside me just to clean up, just to determined to just refusing to be identified by what had happened to me. And my attitude, I didn't want this to shape my life. I just wanted to live my life as best as I could.
Yeah, but there's no normal life after any kind of trauma like that. No, but when the pain is so great that you have no other choice but to move out of it and into anything else but that, people will be like, "Oh, you're so strong." It's like, no, what am I supposed to do? Lay on the ground and die? Yeah. Like, you have to.
I very nearly didn't have my children because I thought that giving birth was going to be like being raped again. But I decided my best revenge would be to have my children, which I have 3 gorgeous girls. But then I didn't want to transfer all my fear and paranoia over to them. What would be the point bringing them into this world if I corrupted their minds or infected them? So I've shown them what it is to get over trauma, but I wanted to show them what it was to live a life.
Man, I believe it's all meant to be somehow in somebody's world, but how special they are to have you and vice versa. No doubt they've because it does tend to happen at the age that one is offended, if you will, one was hurt, when our children go there, when they're there, it brings up all that stuff.
It absolutely did. When Anna turned 13, I really thought motherhood had healed me, but all my memories and nightmares and flashbacks came flooding back, and I really thought I was going mad. I thought if it was so bad, I would have remembered it. But now I understand it's because it was so bad, my mind shut it down. So I had to go back to therapy again. That was another 3 years. That was the last time. But yeah, wow. That was hard. I avoided going to sleep because it came back in my night state, in my dreams or nightmares. Working full time with 3 little girls, that wasn't a great place for me.
Not at all. Because I know the value of talk therapy, because being heard really does matter. Yeah, really does.
And being believed.
And believed, yes. Yes, you're being accepted. I'm not crazy. This wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
All of those things.
It validates what you're saying.
Yes. But you also mentioned that you did some alternative therapies. Are you willing to share some of that?
Sure. So when all my memories came back, I told my therapist I was making it up, I'm going mad. And actually my denial, my refusing to believe them, all the memories, was causing me more harm than the memories themselves.
Wow.
So he suggested going for I think I went for therapeutic massage, was the first kind of body work I did. And they believe that all your trauma is trapped in your cells and your body. And I heard this person screaming, shouting, crying, kicking. And then I realized it was me. It was all coming from me, all that noise and that reaction. And I thought, okay, I can't trust my mind, but I can't make that up. My body it was so responsive to whatever she was doing. So I did a lot of therapeutic massage. I did transformational breath work. I've used exercise. So I was a runner. I ran every day, but I realized I was running physically and running emotionally. So at 41, I went to my first karate class.
Awesome.
Still go all these years later. I'm a windsurfer. I lift weights. I'm a power lifter and do Olympic lifting because I had to. The night it happened, I left my body, and it took me years to ever feel like I got back in. I felt like an empty shell. So I had to find a way to ground me. I've taken, it's a bit like ayahuasca. It's called San Pedro.
Yes.
which is not for the faint-hearted. It's quite a thing to take, but it really just strips you of any conditioning. And I was just left with what was going on. And every time I took it, I went on a workshop, people would be running in the fields, climbing trees, swimming in the lakes, and I would go back to trauma every time. The same thing, obviously, until eventually I said, okay, show me the worst. Just show me all the pictures. And I tried to just sit as steady as I could. And that way it really was okay. It's just pictures. It's just, but you have to work through it, because when you shut it down, you close it with the energy that was associated that night. So anytime I went back to it, whatever therapy I was doing, I would shake, I would be sick, I would be crying, I would want to run. I did so many things, firewalks, sweat lodges, tons of stuff.
Man, are you also familiar with tapping?
Yes, I've tried tapping as well.
Yeah, it really does help. And it's the one known thing to cure phobias, which, you know, as a psychotherapist, you know, that has no known cause, right? But that point that you said about the storing in the cells, actually, that's a very good point for others to listen to realize that it actually is true, and it may or may not be this lifetime. I had that experience on the table in a funny how life happens, a little tiny fender bender, and I'm getting body work, and as perchance, you know, Jeffrey Green was an amazing astrologer who was coming through. He's from the UK, and he was coming through, and I got an appointment, which shouldn't have happened. And I said to my massage therapist, or as you would say, massage. I love the way you say massage. Why, you know, what should I ask him? And he said, ask him why you cry every time I massage your butt. And I was like, oh, okay. Because none of us could explain it. It was my neck that was hurt. And then the long and short of it is that
it's very visceral, isn't it? It's just in there.
He said it was actually from a not too distant lifetime ago. There's no way for me to prove it, but there was an imbalance that happened, and I died, and my body remembers it, and the cells are restoring it, and it's for me to fix this imbalance. And I was like, how do I do that? He's like, you go figure it out. I was like, okay. You know, like a year and a half later, I'm a dominatrix walking somebody down the sidewalk. You know, we're talking about, you know, switching out some power because apparently a lack of power, and then the death, and then the body remembered it and needed to process that. Mm-hmm. And then we're done. Like, it's amazing what body
because it blocks you and it holds you back.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yes, it does.
So and removing a block. And then, you know, the trauma just occupies so much space inside. So when we can work it, we can shift it. There's a lightness, you know, it's just easier. And then, so the old me that was never touched by what happened, the real essence of us can never be damaged. That comes back. And then more of that comes back. Plus. So,
awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's thrilling. How encouraging is that? Just right there. Like, guys, gals, there's hope. It's sitting right in front of me.
Always hope. You know, I often wondered if I was born to different parents, if I would have survived in the same way, because I don't know whether it is in my genes. My dad was a Holocaust survivor, and he loved life. His mum, his dad, his brothers and sisters were all killed in Auschwitz. They were all murdered. His youngest brother was only 6. My mum had her neck broken in an operation and was bedridden for 2 years. But she used hypnosis, she used acupuncture and meditation. And my dad just said, life is for living. If this hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met your mum, had 5 kids. And if you met him, he was the biggest child. He just mucked about. So I think it's in me to survive. But yeah, they were good teachers, really good teachers.
That's amazing and wonderful. And now the next thing for you? I'm so excited.
Yeah, well, so I am a psychotherapist, but as of yesterday, I worked on my very last client because I have been asked to speak more and more. So I decided this year to focus on speaking.
Wow.
And last year I said, okay, if this is meant to be, I like signs. I said, okay, give me a sign. I'd like to work internationally. And I thought that's never going to happen. But I woke up on January the 1st with an invitation to South Africa. So I've come back. I've spoken in South Africa twice now and did a radio show. And also on the 5th of January, I had an invitation to go to the Maldives, which hopefully is happening in July.
Shut up, girl! What? You're going to Maldives to speak? People wanting to go there. You're getting...
There'll be a conference, and also UNICEF want me to do a couple of talks with some young people. So that will be amazing.
Oh, that's so good.
Yes.
Oh,
And in
congratulations.
June as well, I'm doing my TED Talk, which I applied for and got through.
Awesome. You're
Yeah,
doing a TED Talk.
I am.
Oh my God. That is so good. I
It's a
love
TEDx. It's a local one in Glasgow. But
Doesn't
it's
matter.
huge. It's 2,000 people, so it's my biggest
Just
audience.
Just
There's
go
a bit
back
of
for
it
a second.
there,
Wait,
but
your biggest audience prior to this moment was what, 200?
250, 300, yeah.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be what?
2,000.
Wow.
I'm trying not to think about the numbers.
That's true. Hey, you know, you
Yeah.
think about you're speaking to one person.
Yeah.
And when you
Well, I know amongst 2,000 men and women, there's bound to be somebody there that has a similar story to me. We can't be naive and not assume that, you know, there's definitely going to be someone there that's been raped, sexually abused, been harassed in some way.
Wow.
So I'm grateful to have this chance to share my story. I only have 10 minutes, so it's quite a big story to get into 10 minutes, but that's what I'm going to do.
Yes, it really is. You know, that phrase there's wisdom in simplicity is so true. And it's so hard to do. It's so much easier to write 1,000 words instead of 100 to tell anything. Yeah. But what a huge opportunity, because multimedia gets you out there in bigger ways.
Hopefully, and I guess they hope that the TEDx gets picked up by the TED.com and then they share it and then it goes whatever. So we'll see.
Of course it will. It's supposed to be. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Do you feel like you're on purpose?
Absolutely, and that's why I decided that, I mean, I love being a psychotherapist. I love working in a one-to-one and just seeing the changes with people, you know, it's just beautiful to witness. But I feel now this is my purpose, this is my journey. I'm being pulled into this direction. Every talk I've given has been a referral. I've never once looked for the work, so it feels like this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Here, you need a sign. How big should it be? My God, that's so good. And you're loving it.
You know, the last one I did in South Africa, I spoke at a speakers convention, which was nerve-wracking.
Oh my God!
Well, it wasn't so big, but they were, you know, they've been doing it for years, but they were very critical in a good way, but very supportive as well. So great advice when I came off the stage, and I had standing ovation, which I've never got before, which was actually very difficult to take. The first time I got one, it was like, oh, I'm gonna cry. There's a lot of love and support for me. They were a lovely audience. And the next night I spoke to 150 women at a fundraiser, and that was no problem. That was easy.
Yeah, so you're just growing and expanding, and you know, I say bold moves are made one baby step at a time. You know, it wasn't like all of a sudden you're thrust on the Today Show and now you're standing next to Tony Robbins. You know, it may not ever happen like that, but we're led, and if we listen to that, and I'm just curious, how do you learn to listen and trust your voice when what you did was I understand self-loathing, I understand hurting yourself. How does a person learn to trust that? I mean, my story. No, I mean, there's a lot of things that would have happened to get you to this point.
Sure. So I first shared it with the Forgiveness Project, which my story went online. So nearly 5 years ago this September, and ever since I shared it, I was then asked to speak. It opened all these doors. But Marina, who is our founder, she calls us story healers rather than storytellers. And I have felt that so many times. I'll give you a little example. So we have a beautiful, famous news presenter in the UK called Sir Trevor MacDonald. And I was invited to speak on his radio program they were making about redemption. And my friend told me afterwards her mum had been listening, and she went on to disclose to her daughter, my friend, that she had been raped as a teenager, and she had never told anyone. And she ended 64 years of silence after she heard me. So every time I'm asked to speak, I just think of her. That she is my motivation. That's if I just get to one person. And my friend said she knows if she hadn't heard me, she would have taken it to the grave. But she said the difference in her now, it's opened up a space between them that was never there. And she said she's just seen the joy in her mum from listening to a woman on the radio who understood.
That was a really good interview.
Yeah, it was
And
good.
yeah, you guys really should check that out. It's on Madeleine's website. It's 13 minutes of pow and punch, and he's eloquent and articulate and
Oh, he's
beautiful.
lovely, yes.
Oh
He's
yeah,
like a national treasure in the UK.
I
He's
can
lovely.
I can definitely see why. And yeah, so as I said to you before we rolled tape, that it takes only one person to open the dance floor, and then everybody wants to dance,
Yes.
and that's what you're doing.
Absolutely.
I just love it.
Well, you know, it was the courage of somebody else speaking out that helped me find my voice, and I just want to pay that forward.
I call it say it forward.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing, is we're saying it forward as podcasters and podcast guests.
Yes.
And I love the pay it forward part. Absolutely. I owe Tony Robbins a debt of gratitude and a whole bunch of, I don't know, raving fans or something, because he changed my life in a night, you know. That person who did that for you, you know. And yet if it wasn't right, if it wasn't us hearing that, I'm going to get back to that question about that small voice, it's still a small voice. You know, how does a person learn to trust that when you know, denied everything? And that would have to shake up your sense of self-confidence, your sense of knowingness. How do you learn to reset?
You know, really, it feels like if I can speak out and talk about the things that are not so easy, it's almost like a responsibility. It's a duty that if I can do it, then I should.
It is. I love it.
So that's kind of why I do it, I guess, to serve others, or I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, I feel if I should do it, then I should.
You know, that expression, Madeleine, that says knowledge is power. I say it doesn't mean anything if you don't do something with it. Yeah. And I wrote this little tiny poem, and I've never shared this, but I'm going to share this with you.
Okay.
I believe that people should be heard. Their truth should be shared, that their sole goal is at hand, if only they dared. Take a chance this time. It's going to work out. Your purpose fulfilled beyond the shadow of a doubt. We all have a story that is yet untold. It's why we are here. It's your soul's goal.
Oh, I've got goosebumps listening to that over here across the pond. That's lovely. But I do believe, you know, there's nothing, as Maya Angelou said, more painful than a story that's untold inside you. So never die with that story untold. To find someone, it doesn't have to be a therapist, a friend, but to be listened to be believed, and to be heard. Out of everything I did, the most powerful thing was to find my voice, to speak about it, to give it oxygen. And if you can't find someone to speak to, write it down. Tell yourself your story.
So it wasn't that you lacked knowing your story. It was that you may have not trusted what would happen next if you told it. May not.
I didn't get all the memories till a lot later. And I think now, actually, it's not that I forgot. It's just I didn't want to remember.
Absolutely. I get it. I mean, that's how we survive. The mind is amazing in what it can remember or bury.
But in numbing out those memories, I numbed myself out. So I was on autopilot for years, and I didn't want to do that anymore.
Right? I know. And it's confounding to have the external world, like, I bet you can understand this, come up and say, you know, you're not in your body. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. That doesn't make any sense at all. You need to come back. I'm like, I think I'm here. I don't know the difference. You know,
denial.
Observe and make some, give me a label. Can you help me out here? You know, hey buddy, can you give me a hand? Could you stop telling me what's wrong? I don't know. Show me the steps out. And that's really, I mean, that's what this pay it forward, say it forward is really about, is,
absolutely,
you know, who you've become, your vibration, your essence, your everything speaks volumes, whether you have a microphone in your hand or not. And what you've done is become a remarkable human being, shining and really carrying on. I asked Madeleine, guys, before we started the camera, if she felt fulfilled and she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, so to speak. When did that feeling show up?
I guess when I shared my story, you know, I'm not saying it was easy. When I pressed that button to share it, you know, it was one thing sharing it. I shared it at a workshop, but another thing to share it on the internet so that it could go, you know, once it's shared, then that's it. You don't know where it goes or what's happening. It's out into the world. No. So that was scary. But then as soon as I shared it, friends got in contact and they said, you know, I didn't know this had happened, or if they did know, they didn't know it was near fatal. Or then other people started to get in contact, and then people from across the pond or different countries got in contact, and then I saw, yeah, this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah, and that sense of fulfillment, it feeds itself. It becomes like, oh, okay, this feels a whole hell of a lot better than what I've been doing, you know, because ultimately we want to be joyful and unburdened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's hard because when you're caught, you're really caught in it. It's really hard to see any other way. It's hard to imagine that actually you can wake up, doesn't have to infect or affect your daily life in any way, but it did before. It was the only thing that I thought about, you know, getting into my car, putting the buttons down, not being able to put my rubbish down the end of the garden if it was dark and my husband was away, or crossing the street, or leaving a multi-story car park if it was above one floor because I couldn't take the lift in case somebody came in the lift. And, you know, it just was my safety and paranoia and men. I was so scared of everything. You know, fear was my friend for years. Yes. And I decided to split up with fear. I don't want to do fear anymore.
Choose love over fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have to love away our enemies, and those enemies can be our thoughts. They can be our memories. They can be people. They can be a lot of things. We have to find some way to love it away, because what we resist.
Love will always win over hate, always.
Yes. And yet, you know, there's people out there that would be shaking in their boots right now, because they don't know how to be otherwise. How do you move from being rightfully paranoid or extra careful, especially in these days, Madeleine? I saw your post that said, "I feel sorry for America." And it had, you know, it was on your Facebook wall, and it has to.
A little while ago, I think, when it was to do with Dr. Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was horrible to watch what they put her through and how she was treated, and
yeah. How does in light of all of this, everything, every bit of it, how does a person do this and walk out and go, I'm not going to follow my daughter's school bus this time?
I think you just have to really become a really good sailor. You know, you're gonna get capsized and you're gonna get storms, but as long as you can get back in your boat and right your sail and just keep sailing, keep steady and as grounded and as connected and as you possibly can. You know, there's going to be things that knock us over, but it's how you get back up, and it's getting back up. That's what really matters.
Yeah. So you become a different person every day, no matter what happens. It's how you decide to let it impact you.
Yeah, it's
right?
How we react, how we respond, and I guess it's really it's growing our awareness. You know, to really see what we do with ourselves, the games that we play, and the denial, and all the stuff we get caught in. And once we really see it, then we have a choice. Okay, am I going to still carry on doing that, or am I going to try and do this differently? And what if because I really set out to challenge all of my fears, because after a while I saw my fears were my imagination. They weren't real. They were based on what had already happened to me, which wasn't happening anymore, or based on what could happen to me. But right here in this moment, I was fine. I was really okay. But it took years to see that.
It does. And through my own process, just to share real quick, I've learned that through awareness, acceptance, and action comes peace, and change, rather, comes change. Awareness, acceptance, and action equals change. And that awareness was started with a piece of paper that said, I believe, at the top. And I wrote down every single thought. And it took months. I mean, we think a lot of thoughts. and there was no edit at all. Just write them down. And what it's that awareness, what you write it out and get it out, then you can see, oh, hang on, I've got I don't know, a thought from childhood. It's okay. That's still in there.
On lots of shows.
Just to real quick wrap that up. They could be like old guards that a sentry that we hired, and they need to be fired. These are old thoughts. Yeah.
There maybe was a time in life when we needed them, but we don't need them anymore. So I guess it's a bit like a computer program. We have to update.
Yes.
Constantly update our programs and get new software. It's out of date.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. You need to get the door.
No, it's my dog. I have daughter somewhere trying to shush him, but he's not doing it.
Okay, just making sure. Just making
It's
sure.
fine.
Yeah. So everyone do a software upgrade, and then move on. So how can people get more of and about you?
Sure. So I am on all social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or my website, madeleineBlack.co.uk. You'll find me somewhere.
And tuning in on the video portion of your world. Pretty soon we'll be able to see you on a TEDx talk.
Hopefully, yes. I don't know how long they take to put the videos up, but I don't think it's too long. So I'm going to be doing actually 4 weeks to yesterday, the 14th of June. So it's getting nearer.
Not that you're counting, right?
No, not that counting in any way.
Do you have a coach that you work with to do
They're
this?
amazing. They look after you so well. So I have a coach which I speak to every week. We either meet in person or we do Skype. And then I'm going to a TEDx craft meeting where there's about 5 or 6 people that will help you craft your story as well, to how your stage presence and how you are. So they really look after you. We have a rehearsal the day before, then we have the main event on the day. So yeah, I'm very well looked after.
What's the one idea you're going to share?
Well, the theme is connection. And initially I was going to really talk about the power of sharing our stories, but they want me to share my story. So I think the themes are quite a loose kind of thing. But I guess I disconnected for a while and now it is about connecting back in. But it's going to be called Unbroken, which is the name of my book as well. And it will be called Speaking the Unspeakable.
Wow. Wow. Before I let you go, I've just got to ask one more question. And
sure.
Is it I don't know I don't know if it's detrimental. I don't know if it's healthy. I don't know if it's traumatizing, re-traumatizing to have to go back into your story so often as you do. How do you handle that?
It's really okay. And I think when we get to a place when we can tell our story and it doesn't impact on us, and I'm not saying it from a totally numbed, disconnected place anymore. Right. I think when we can own our story and, like you said, accept it, I know I can't change anything about it anymore. And for years, I wished it wasn't like this and I hoped that hadn't happened. And that's not accepting. Now I go, okay, yeah, this happened. It didn't kill me. I am still alive. I'm not what they did to me. I'm okay. Yeah, it's okay to speak about it. It's really okay. And it doesn't really impact on me telling it anymore. It did in the beginning a bit, but now it's much easier.
It would have also been a trigger when in your practice as a psychotherapist.
Yeah, it's interesting triggers because they come when you least expect them.
I know!
We like to think we're really okay. We're really doing great. So I was invited to see a play in Ireland called Asking for It, which is an adaptation of Louise O'Neill's book, who's an Irish writer. And it's about a young woman who's gang raped at a party. So there was a lot of reservation with me. And the night that I left my body, I counted, there was a wallpaper border and it was made out of bows. And I counted these bows over and over in my head. That's how I kind of survived.
Wow.
And I left, I sat on top of the wardrobe, and in this play, in the scene where she's being gang raped, all of a sudden I found myself leaving my body again, and I started to count all the windows on the stage. There was like 50 windows, and I thought, holy whatever, I didn't know I could still do that. And it really scared me at the time, but because I'm now so aware, this was only about a year or so ago, I saw exactly what my mind did, and I didn't go for the drink that I was invited to go after the play. I said, no, I need to go back. I need to sit quietly and just be with this and just acknowledge that there's still stuff inside there that needs to be cleaned up. You know, there's still something in there that can get triggered now and again, which surprised me. I didn't think that could happen.
Yeah, I had somebody say that to me too, and she's doing a reading earlier in the year, and she said, you need to write down, you know, good and bad. I said, I have 2 different journals, but I was confounded. I said, I've done so much work. What am I supposed to do? Sit here and try to make myself cry over something? Like, what are you talking about? You know what? It's come up lately, and I see, you know, little 2-year-olds, and you know what had happened to me when I was 2, and it's just like, I'm at work right now. This is really inconvenient.
How dare you come up now?
What the hell? I thought this was done.
I know.
Oh, there's more. Like, really?
But the good thing is that you see it and you know what it's connected to, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does.
And it's just one less, it's a bit like a contraction. It's one less you'll ever need to have again.
I like that. That's a great way to put it, sweetie.
Yeah.
I love your style. Love your smile.
Thank you.
I can't wait till you're over here and we can actually meet, because I'll get
that'd be fabulous.
Never had.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am so pleased to present and sad to conclude that we've had an amazing talk with Madeleine Black. Such a great soul. Such a great soul, hon. And guys, yeah, please do visit her website, and I will put it in the show notes, and grab her book, Unbroken. And yeah, watch TEDx real soon, because baby, she's a star. She sure is. Thanks for listening to Bold Movers and Shakers, where we bring the best, the brightest, and the most amazing stories to the forefront. We'll talk to you soon. See you next time, guys.